Yo, so back again, Pappy Daily Takes. Like I said, I'm gonna get back on it more consistently. We don't have nothing else to do, and also, I just have thoughts sometimes that I wake up and I want to get off by myself. So back again today. I know over the past couple weeks, I think we've, had like a lot of conversation about, Draymond Green's comments, um, about how good is Draymond Green, about Draymond Green versus Charles Barkley. And I kind of just wanted to give my takes on that a little bit. I even saw a tweet today that said Dennis Rodman is who Draymond Green thinks he is. And I kind of just want to get my takes on Draymond Green versus Charles Barkley and the whole situation. Starting off, obviously Charles Barkley is probably one of the 25 greatest players to ever pick up a basketball. Obviously, if I'm going to the playground right now and I don't have anybody else on my team, I'm picking Charles Barkley before Draymond Green every time. Obviously, if it's a one-on-one, I think that Charles Barkley would probably win that game versus Draymond Green every single time. Um, but that doesn't mean we should diminish Draymond Green's value. And I know even when Draymond was talking about impact, obviously, if you put Draymond Green on the Suns, he's not taking that team to the finals. But if you put Charles Barkley on the Warriors, I don't think they replicate the same success. I think that Draymond Green is a very integral part of the Warriors' success. I don't think that there was any other player in the league um, at the time of Draymond's height and Draymond's peak, because I think at this point he's maybe a little bit past his peak just because injuries, attrition, age. He's played 4 years in college. What, 4 or 5 straight deep finals runs. Obviously, I think weight for Draymond is always going to be an issue as well. Being able to stay in shape and keep his body in the best condition will always be somewhat of an issue as well. Um, so I mean, Draymond's best days may be behind him. That doesn't mean that he still can't be effective. But I think Draymond's best days at this point, may be behind him. We'll see, but it may be behind him. But at Draymond's peak, I don't think you can find another player in the league that could go out there and give you what Draymond Green gave you. I think that sometimes we look at like stats and numbers and want to quantify a player's value. And they'll say, "Oh, well, you just did this because you played with Steph and Clay." Well, Steph and Clay had to play with him too. For one, I think that Draymond Green's ability to be able to rebound the basketball, push up court, and make great passes helps Steph Curry out, helps Klay Thompson out. If you got to give Steph the ball and he's such a shooter, it's very easy to double people when they own ball. Even you saw the Last Dance documentary. It's very easy for, and Field talked about, it was important to get Mike off ball because it's very easy for the defense to devise a scheme for you if you're always on ball. So Steph has to take the traditional point guard role. Always had the ball in his hands about 75% of the time, bring it up court and everything initiates from him. It's very easy to trap Steph when he's on ball, make him pass the ball. His run rotation to Clay. You can make Clay put the ball on the floor, and then when Clay puts the ball on the floor, it's not the same as, him coming off a screen, not having a dribble, pulling up, or Steph coming off a screen, pump faking, taking one dribble, getting somewhere. If he has to bring the ball up, like I said, it's much easier to devise a defense for them. So Draymond Green allows Steph Curry to have offensive freedom. Also, Draymond alluded to him being one of the best screen setters ever in NBA history. I don't know if I would go as far as saying he's the best screen setter in league history. I think that's a little bit, it's a strong comment. Um, and one that I don't know if you can verify. I mean, maybe if you looked at screen assists or something like that, maybe didn't tally it up through every generation. I don't know. But that's a strong comment. But I mean, obviously, with the offense that the Warriors run, Draymond has to be able to set great screens and be a smart basketball player. So this Warriors offense isn't what it is without Draymond Green. And again, I don't think you can put another player in that situation and think you get the same results. I don't think you can put Charles Barkley, even being the great player that he is, on this Warriors team and think that you get the same results. For one, Charles Barkley needs the ball. Draymond Green doesn't. Charles Barkley needs the ball and also needs shots. Charles Barkley's offense is a little bit different than Draymond's offense. Um, if you give Chuck the ball, you kind of got other people kind of standing around watching a little bit. Chuck plays in the post a lot. Draymond doesn't post up. The Warriors don't really use the post too much outside of Kevin Durant. And also, Charles Barkley has a comment in saying, widely publicized comment in saying they don't pay me to play defense, which is the huge thing. I think that people think that the Warriors won strictly because of offense, because obviously Steph gets all the highlights and we love to see it, and the threes, and it looks cool, it looks great, and all these things. But I mean, the defense was pretty much top 5 or at least top 10 every year they won, outside of the very last year, and even the very last year that they won, they still strapped up when they had to strap up. It wasn't like you were just going out there and for instance, even like the Rocket series, they made them miss 26, what was it, 27 straight threes. That wasn't all by chance. For one, I think that they dictated where the Rockets were going to shoot the ball. They did a good job contesting when they shot these threes and made sure that they contested without fouling. Um, Even with the Cavs series, I mean, you still have to slow down LeBron. Obviously, LeBron can't fully beat you himself, but you still have to somewhat impede his process and make it difficult for him. Draymond was huge in that. I don't think Charles Barkley would be able to. Actually, I know Charles Barkley cannot defend like Draymond Green. So I think that sometimes we quantify, impact and value by like, what they did and their numbers. Draymond Green's been a defensive player of the year. Draymond Green has been one of the 10, probably I want to say, best defensive players in the league since 2014. And again, this Warriors thing does not happen the same without Draymond Green. Period. And I think that people need to respect that, and people need to wake up and recognize that. Again, I'm not saying that if I'm going to the park right now and I don't have a team, I'm picking Draymond first over guys like Charles Barkley. I even know we had an argument about LaMarcus Aldridge. I mean, I don't know if this was on Twitter, but me and TBJ had an argument about LaMarcus Aldridge being placed on his Warriors team, but they do the same thing. No, because LaMarcus Aldridge can't defend. Also, LaMarcus Aldridge likes to post. The Warriors offense doesn't even look the same. Again, everybody talks about, Dre and Draymond being blessed to play with Steph and Clay, but I feel like people don't switch that around. Like, Steph and Clay got to play with Draymond Green. They wasn't out there doing all that themselves. Yeah, sure, Steph was the best offensive player, but Draymond was far and away the best defensive player. You weren't counting on Steph Curry when you needed a defensive stop. You were counting on Draymond Green when you needed a defensive stop. Also, again, Draymond Green is an integral part of their offense. And then I even watched the All the Smoke interview when he was talking about the scuffle he got in with Kevin Durant, and I've never actually heard, well, not scuffle, but the disagreement he got into it with Kevin Durant, and I've never heard Draymond Green's side of the story. And when he explained it, that basically like he was getting a rebound, and his thought process was to push it up court, and obviously if Draymond and take that path, and if Kevin Durant is trailing, you throw it back to KD for an easy pull-up jumper instead of, you giving the ball to Kevin Durant. The whole defense is looking at you. You can get to a certain point. We can double you, make you take a contested shot, as opposed to Draymond gets the ball, push it up court, turns around. KD is flying up court. You get an easy transition pull-up three. We go home, game over. Now, granted, it didn't work out like that. It was some miscommunication between the two. Draymond said he turned around and didn't see Kevin Durant, sprinting hard up court. He was kind of like lollygagging back up, like, bro, what the hell? And it kind of, messed up what was happening. So it didn't translate and actually work out the way that he wanted it to work out. But when you hear his opinion on the situation, like, I understand what he was trying to do. And great, and also Draymond was right. I was an all-star before you came here. Like, don't treat me like I'm Festus Ezeli. No shot to Festus Ezeli, but I was an all-star before you came here. I was a defensive player of the year. You never won a defensive player of the year. I've been better at something than you have. I have been named the best defensive player in the league. It's something you have never done. I've been an all-star. I've been a champion. You hadn't done that before. Like, we won without you. Now, granted, you could say that the Cavs were hurt, but at the same time, I never think that injuries are the sole reason why you lose a series. I think that injuries contribute to why you lose a series, but injuries were never the sole reason as to why you lost a series. The Cavs still could have won that series. It hurts me to admit it, but the Cavs still could have won that series without Kyrie and without Kevin Love. LeBron just didn't get the job done. There were a lot of shots that LeBron took that he didn't need to take. There were some turnovers he made that he didn't need to make. If you take 2018 LeBron and like mentally and put him in 2014 LeBron, they might win that series. But that's a whole nother discussion we can get into at like a different point in time. Basically, what I'm just saying is I just think people need to respect Draymond Green. I think that people, put too much of a look at numbers and, oh, well, he only averaged this, he only averaged that, he only averaged this. But a lot of what Draymond does can't be quantified. Even, you go, I cover teams. So, I mean, when I was covering the Sparks, one of the key things Derek talked about was communication. When I was even covering the Clippers, one of the things they talked about early on was communication. Draymond Green is arguably, at least I would say, probably one of the top 5 best communicators in the league. If you watch a game, you always hear Draymond Green talking. And I don't think that can be quantified with a stat. I mean, that's very important. Like, just let me know what you're doing. Talk. Tell me something. Let me know what you're doing. Be vocal on the court. Draymond's also the vocal leader. I don't think Steph is a big rah-rah guy, but you do need a rah-rah guy. And I think that Draymond is a guy that can galvanize a guy. and galvanize the team, and maybe motivate them. Even remember the play when Jordan Bell missed the dunk, and Draymond was like, "Yo, did he miss a shot? Did he miss a shot? Did he miss a shot? Okay, everybody missed a shot today. Don't worry about it. It's just a shot. We all miss shots. Like those type of things can't be quantified with stats. And I think that people need to just value what Draymond brings to the game. Now, granted, like I said, I think Draymond's best days may be behind him. Like I said, he's played. You had 5D finals run. You played 4 years in college. Obviously, again, weight and things are going to be an issue for Draymond Green. But Draymond Green can play as long as he wants to in his league. Basically, for one, because of his basketball mind. I think Draymond Green is one of the smarter players in the league. I don't think that he was ever the most athletic guy, never the most physically imposing guy. So I think that when you do lack a little bit in the athleticism category and you do lack a little bit in the physically opposing category, your mind has to go to a different level. I also think to even run the Warriors offense, like I've been watching things about, the triangle. Obviously the Warriors don't run strictly triangle, but they do run some triangle. Just to even run the offense that Draymond runs the way he runs it, and to run the defense that Draymond is a part of the way he runs it, you have to be a smart basketball mind. So I think that Draymond Green can play as long as he wants to based off his basketball mind. May not be at the level that he once was, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, but it doesn't mean that I don't think he still can be effective well into his career. But yeah, like I said, this isn't me saying that I think Draymond Green is a better player than Charles Barkley. I don't. Obviously, again, Charles Barkley is one of the 25 best players ever to play basketball. Draymond Green is not that. But if you want to talk about impact, when Draymond said I've had just as much as of an impact as Chuck had, now that's the point that can be discussed, because again, the Warriors don't win these rings without Draymond Green. They just don't. I know people think that you can replace it with this person and with that person, and people think like, oh, well, if you take any other top 3 power forward and you put them with Steph and Clay, they would get it done too. Like, no. They had David Lee before. David Lee wasn't a terrible power forward. David Lee was good. David Lee was an all-star, I think, 1 year in Golden State. They didn't get it done with David Lee. They excelled when they moved Draymond Green into the starting lineup. Why? Not necessarily because of his individual talent, but because he does things that allow Steph and Clay to be free. Again, if Draymond isn't out there, then that means somebody has to handle the ball more. Then that means it's probably Steph Curry, because he's the point guard of the team. If Steph Curry is the point guard, but you also want him to be the main scoring guy, saying, I can easily just double you and run doubles at you. I run a double at you, make you get the ball out your hands. You going to pass it to Clay, but at that point it's run rotation, so I can easily get out to Clay, get a hand up in his face, make Clay put the ball on the floor. Now Clay's either going to the rim or he's shooting pull-up twos, and that's not what makes the Warriors dynamic. What makes the Warriors dynamic is they have soul-crushing, bone-crushing threes. You can play an amazing game, be up by 12, and they go on like a quick run, and within 1 minute, you had a 2-point lead now. It's like all the work I did all game is completely finished. But Draymond is a part of that, because he allows him to push the pace. He allows him to be fast. He allows the ball to hop like that. So, again, I don't think that just, looking at Draymond's numbers and saying, oh, well, he never averaged this. He never averaged that. He did this. He did that is a great way to quantify Draymond Green. Again, I know this year was a down season, but at the same time, like I said, Draymond's game puts other people in their right place. If I'm not going to build a team around Draymond Green, like, no, we're not going to win many games. If Draymond Green has to score 18 points, we're probably a terrible team, because that's not what Draymond's role should be. But Draymond Green does allow you to do things that you have a team that's here, and he puts you here and elevates you to make you being and takes you from being a championship team, especially for this Warriors team. And again, I don't want everybody to quantify things so much on stats. And even when I saw people say the thing about, oh, well, Dennis is who Draymond thinks he is. I mean, obviously he's not Dennis Rodman in the lower pantheon of basketball history, but for this Warriors team, he gives them what Dennis Rodman gave the 93 Bulls, and that's he does things that the other guys don't do. Steph don't do what he do. Clay don't do what he do. KD don't even do what he do. And I think that should be respected. I saw somebody put in the chat, Charles Barkley can't bring the ball up. Sure, Chuck can bring the ball up, but same time, again, Chuck's offense, you have to depend on Chuck offensively. If you're not using Chuck to score 20 points, 25 points, you're not getting the best Charles Barkley. Like, you're just not. Also, Chuck likes to post. That slows the Warriors offense down. They put the 5-second back down rule in because Charles Barkley used to like to back people down for more than 5 seconds. It's just not going to work the same. Also, defensively, who's going to be the defensive stopper? At that point, who? the issue with the Suns, and for the most part, why past '93, they didn't really ever regain that same glory was the fact defense. They had the best offense in the league, but like the 17th ranked defense in the league. Again, you go to the finals, you play against somebody like LeBron. LeBron abusing them all day. So again, I don't think that you replicate the same results if you put Charles Barkley on this team and you take Draymond Green off it. That's not to say that Charles Barkley, like I said, is not as good a player as Draymond Green. If you play one-on-one, he will dust him every time. Chuck is a top 25 player ever, but Chuck just doesn't bring the basketball skills that Draymond brings, which allow the Warriors to play the way they play and allow Steph to free up his game, or allows Klay to free up his game. He just doesn't. Even if you put KD on there, I don't think KD gets to play as much free safety if you don't have Draymond back there. I think KD's best defensive years came with the Warriors. Why? Because he had better defenders around him, and he wasn't defending as much on the wing. He was defending more so down in the paint where he should be because he's fucking 7 feet tall. So again, like I said, I just don't think we need to quantify everything in stats. And I just think we need to respect what Draymond brings to the game of basketball. Point blank, period. And that's really it. I don't know how much more I can say it. I'm going to just keep talking in circles at like a certain point. But seriously, just respect what Draymond Green brings to the game of basketball. Because I don't think that there was a player in the league when the Warriors were at their peak. Now they may recover their peak. We got to see what moves they make. They have, Wiggins. They have a pick. There's definitely some things that they can do with that. They can definitely go, go out there and get somebody, and recreate the same spark and recreate the second iteration of the Warriors dynasty, kind of like what the Bulls did. They can definitely go out there and do that. But at the Warriors' peak, the Warriors don't reach that without Draymond doing what Draymond did for that basketball team. And that's what it is. I'm going to look in the chat and see what you guys are talking about. I'm not looking at exactly the chat window right now. I'm looking at OBS. I looked at the chat slightly when I saw like the Charles Barkley can't bring the ball up, and I responded to it. But now I'm going to go look at the chat and see what you guys have been talking about. If there's anything in the chat. Offense is defense. Offense is not defense. Defense is also offense. If you creating steals, you getting out in transition, and you scoring easy buckets. Offense isn't necessarily defense. Like, for one, if the other team is putting the ball in the basket every damn time, then that slows your offense down. Because then now I actually have to run a set to score. It's very hard it's very hard to, as you get deeper into the playoffs and teams, know your offensive sets, it's very hard to score against a team set defense. The easiest way to get buckets is to play defense and make sure that the other team, and make sure that you aren't taking the ball out the basket. Because if you aren't, the other defense doesn't get a chance to get set, and you create mismatches. You getting 3-on-4s, you getting 3-on-2s, you getting things like that. So no, offense is not defense. That's why people say defense wins championships. Usually, even like the Bulls, right? Okay, so the last, like, they were built around defense. They still had two of the best defensive players in the history of the game. 3 when you look at the last 3-peat on the same team. Like, yeah, Jordan was what he was, but when the Bulls were at their best was when they were creating turnovers, stopping you, and then flying up and down the court. Even a triangle, a great system and what it is. When other teams get a chance to get set and get a chance to get all 5 guys back, things become easier to defend. If we, not taking the ball out the net every time, and we, ball hit the rim, we getting the ball going. You got Mike and you got Scotty and you got the guys flying in transition, and you got BJ and you got Paxson, you got shooters. Even Horace, a guy who can get up and down the court. Even when you look at the next 3-peat, watch Rodman's detail. Rodman was a great outlet passer, so cool. All right, boom. I get the ball, Rodman turn around, throw it up court to Mike and Scotty. They still some of the most athletic players in the league. At that point in time, they flying up and down the court. It's much, much easier to score as opposed to scoring against a team set defense. Also, about Charles Barkley having an average coach take him to the finals, I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Paul Westphal was the Suns coach during that period of time, and Paul Westphal is not a average coach, if I'm not mistaken. Let me actually look this up to make sure that I'm not making this up. As a coach, yes, he was the Phoenix Suns coach. Paul Westphal isn't an average coach. Paul Westphal is a good basketball coach. If I'm not mistaken, I thought he actually coached with the Lakers for a second. I guess he didn't. His head coaching record is pretty damn good for the most part. Again, I don't think Paul Westphal was an average coach. I think Paul Westphal is a good coach. And at the same time, that Suns team wasn't terrible. I think we have to remember Dan Marley was a good player. It wasn't like Chuck was out there by himself and he just. But Chuck had more talent on that team than what the talent than the talent that Hakeem had when he won the finals the next year. That team is way more talented on paper. You have a second and a third option. You have Dan Marley, Thunder Dan, who look him up. Thunder Dan wasn't bad. You have Kevin Johnson, the perennial 20 and 10 guy. They really just needed Chuck. So it wasn't like Chuck was out there by himself. No, Chuck had a very, very good team. It wasn't like Chuck had the teams that he had in Philly in the early 90s. When Chuck had those teams, they lost in maximum the second round every year. When Chuck got a good team, they went to the finals. The next year, the issue was, well, I think the next year they lost. If I'm not mistaken, I think the next year they lost to the conference semifinals. I just want to make sure that I'm correct in this. Did they lose? Was it the who did they lose to the next year? Yeah, next year they lost to the Rockets. Like I thought, they lost to the Rockets. The reason why they couldn't beat the Rockets was because defense. They had like the best offense in the league, but they had like the 17th ranked defense. That's the reason why they lost. So again, if you put Charles Barkley on this Warriors team, it just doesn't work out the same. Like, sure, are they great? Sure. Do they make the finals? They may make the finals. Who knows? But it doesn't work out exactly the same. I don't think that you get the same results with that. I don't even think you maybe beat a team like Houston is easy if you put Chuck on that team. Because, again, Chuck just isn't the defender that Draymond Green is. And obviously, again, you can look at what stop equating how great Chuck was as a singular entity to fitting him in with this Warriors team. So again, when you talk about impact, yeah, Draymond Green had an MVP type impact on this Warriors franchise. Obviously, like I said, if you take Draymond Green and maybe drop him anywhere else on planet Earth, it don't replicate the same. But again, you don't have to do that. All you have to do is excel in your role on your team. And let me see what else is in the chat. Barkley isn't a bad defender. It's not that Barkley is a terrible defender. It's that obviously you're getting 13 rebounds. Defensive rebounds are a part of rebounds. But Charles Barkley never came close to being ranked one of the best defenders in the league. Did Charles Barkley ever make an all-defensive team? Like, we're talking about a different level of defense when we're talking about Draymond Green. We're talking about a guy who's been on the all-defensive team multiple times. First team multiple times. Second team a couple times. Like, we're not just talking about a marginal defender. Yeah, he's never been on the all-defensive team, and he actually only led the league in rebounding once, and that was in 1987. So, again, like, I'm not saying that Chuck can't play defense. I'm just saying that, for one, he literally said himself, they don't pay me to play defense. They do not pay me for defense. Those are his words himself. So, again, he's not bringing the same level of defensive output that Draymond Green is. You aren't going to be ranked the first, second, third, fifth ranked defense with Charles Barkley. Well, not even a fifth. I think they were top 5 the first couple of years they won. You're not going to be a top 5 defense with Charles Barkley on the team. You just aren't. And again, the Warriors weren't just based on offense. They were also based on defense. The defense helped their offense. Do you know how hard it is to beat the Warriors if you can't score? And the Warriors don't have to take the ball out the net, and Draymond Green can get the rebound and push it up to Steph Curry in transition, and he pulls up from 30 feet in transition, or Klay Thompson pulls up from the corner and takes a wild, ignorant shot in transition, and then you do that a couple times, and now they just went on a 12-0 run in like 60 seconds or 90 seconds. Do you know how difficult that is and demoralizing that is for a team? But again, that all starts with defense. You cannot minimize Draymond Green's impact on this team. And if you put Chuck on this team, again, it does not have the same impact. It is not saying that Charles Barkley isn't a better singular entity than what Draymond Green is. Of course he is. Chuck averaged damn near 30 points and 12 rebounds. Draymond Green ain't never doing that. If Draymond Green got to average 18 points, your team is probably ass. But again, for what he gave, you're building a team. You're putting together a puzzle. If one piece don't fit in the puzzle, it's not going to work. Draymond Green was the perfect piece that fit in the puzzle that made the Warriors work. So again, I think we all need to respect that. We all need to appreciate that and just appreciate what Draymond Green has brought to the game and hopefully will bring to the game in the future. Like I said, his best days may be behind him, but that doesn't mean that throughout this first Warriors three-peat, you can't appreciate what he brought to the game. And my calling for the day. I'll be back tomorrow with some. Talk to you guys later. Pavill Daily Takes.